Meteorologist Sarah Spivey interrupting coverage here because I want to bring you up to speed on what is going on in the Texas Hill Country. Of course, on July 4th, we had that devastating flooding along the Guadalupe River. As you can see now, we are getting some showers and storms pushing through the Texas Hill Country. The key thing to keep in mind here is we do have a few warnings ongoing in Kerr County, one of the areas that was hardest hit by those floods back on July 4th. The first thing to know is that there's a flash flood warning for the entire county until about 11:30. And that's because we're seeing lots of low water crossings on the roads being closed because of the additional 1 to 2 inches of rain that's fallen on an area that's already completely saturated. So that flash flood warning is in effect until 11:30. And then we've also got a flood warning. I'm going to go ahead and clear the radar here so that you can see this a little bit better. Here's where we've got the flood warning. That's this tiny box here for the Guadalupe River from Hunt to Ingram. Now, the Guadalupe is not going to rise as high as it did on July 4th when it crested at 37 feet at Hunt. That was major flood stage, above major flood stage by about 15 feet. What they're forecasting is the potential for the Guadalupe River to rise to moderate flood stage later this afternoon at Hunt. And here is a look at that graph here. You might have to squint because, again, this is the official forecast from the National Weather Service office's website. I'm going to go ahead and zoom into the area of interest. And as I bring my slider over here, you can see that the Guadalupe may crest at about 13 feet, which is moderate flood stage, at around 3-4 o'clock this afternoon. Some things about that, okay? Again, that is some 20 feet below where we were looking at the major flooding last week. If it crests at about 13 feet, it would likely cause some travel issues right where 39 is in Hunt. So that's right here. You could see a little bit of water over the road there. The biggest impact will be the fact that this is pausing a lot of the recovery efforts from first responders. We do know from our very own Devin Karp, who's out in Ingram, that they have paused the cleanup recovery efforts while the rain passes in that area. And speaking of that, we can go ahead and bring back up the radar and go ahead and push play here. And what you'll notice is that the intensity of the rain is starting to come down a little bit, and it's starting to get out of the flood warning area where the flash flooding is happening. Now, still raining, there's still plenty of lightning in these areas, but this is good news. I know there's so many people that are dealing with storm anxiety, especially after July 4th. This is not going to be anywhere near what we had on the 4th of July, but this is still a situation where there will be low water crossings. There are currently low water crossings. I'm wondering, can we bring up Devin? Is Devin available for us to bring up here? He's out in Ingram right now. Is that possible? If folks in the back can tell me if that's possible, that would be great. But meanwhile, while we wait for Devin, the thing to know is that we have got this leading edge of storms that's now starting to get into Comfort and into Bandera. This is moving to the south at about 20 miles per hour, 25 miles per hour, and it's going to be in the San Antonio area by about the afternoon, by the lunch hour. So take a look at this. We're looking at tracking these storms moving into Bexar County from anywhere from 11 to noon. Now, it's not guaranteed that we'll see flooding in San Antonio, but it is the potential for flooding. And because we have the potential for flooding, that's why we're under that flash flood watch. We're going to be watching out for flooding through Sunday evening. Keep in mind, if you do get a warning, that's when you need to take some action. So in San Antonio, we don't have a warning right now, but they do up in Kerr County. So what is the difference between a watch and a warning? A watch means flooding is possible. We're watching out for flooding. The exact location of some flooding is to be determined, and you need to be prepared. So if you're watching this appcast, if you're watching us on air, you are prepared. You're ready. Make sure you have notifications turned on your phone, a way to get warnings, good cell service. And if you don't have good cell service, make sure you have a NOAA weather radio, because that will those warnings will come to you regardless of cell service. If you get a warning, and they're getting a warning right now in Kerr County, that means that flooding is or will happen shortly. The exact location is known. If you have a warning, flooding is happening in your area, you need to take action by staying off of the roads. That's the primary threat with any of the rain today. And if necessary, seek higher ground. So those folks that are along the Guadalupe River out in I see Devin giving us a thumbs up and stuff, so that might mean that he's ready soon, but we'll check in with him a little bit later. Seems like he's still on standby. The biggest thing to know is we're going to be watching these showers and storms as they push closer and closer to San Antonio. The rain is starting to lose intensity in Kerr County, even though it's still raining quite a bit. So if you're in Kerr County, this flash flood warning expires at 11:30. That means that there's not a risk for flooding after 11:30. And if you're near the river between Hunt to Kerrville, it's best to get at least 15 feet above where that riverbank is, because remember, that's the most that it could potentially flood. We're going to return you to programming here on KSAT, but stick with us if you're streaming. I'm live right now on the KSAT Weather Authority app. I'm live right now on ksat.com and streaming on KSAT Plus. So let's return you to programming as we continue to monitor this risk for flooding. Well, we are interrupting programming here very shortly. I'm meteorologist Sarah Spivey. We're continuing to track some flooding that's ongoing across the hill country in an area that has seen too much flooding all too recently. Kerr County is dealing with some flash flooding. Low water crossings are closed in areas. This flash flood warning is in effect until 11:30. But an area of concern for many people is the Guadalupe River from Hunt all the way out to Kerrville. Because that river is rising, it's expected to reach at least moderate flood stage. Now that, while it is dangerous, is nowhere near the major flood stage of the rushing waters that we saw over July 4th. That we saw a crest of 37 feet. This is expected to crest at maybe 12 feet near Hunt. But we are seeing some impacts out there in Kerrville, Ingram, and Hunt. And joining us live is our very own Devin Karp. Devin, what are you seeing out there? I know you're right next to the river.
Yeah, Sarah, that's right. We're right over here. This is Town Creek Road and Blue Bonnet Road. I want you to take a look at this here. There's the river over there. You can see we've got some blockades that are set up right over here. Taking a look at some of the flooding on the road. So make sure that you guys are not driving out there if you can avoid the roads right now. I spoke with the fire chief over at the volunteer fire department with Ingram over there, and he was saying to make sure that people are not going out and about.
Hey, Devin, I'm wondering if we can,
area.
That's very good advice. I'm wondering if we can pan up and look at the river itself off in the distance, because yes, that street flooding is dangerous, but if we can look at the river there off in the distance, you can see some muddy waters.
We're working on that, Sarah. We're having some technical difficulties with the actual camera operation unit here on the unit. But
well, I'm glad you're being
we are able
safe.
to show this front camera view. Yes, we are not going towards this road over here. We are staying away from some of that water over there. I'm sorry, this is the best that we can show you at the moment with some of these. Oh, here we go. Okay, thankfully, photojournalist Alexis was able to get that back up and running for us again. She's been doing an absolutely wonderful job too while we've been out here. Okay, we're going to go ahead and see if you guys can look through the raindrops. The river levels are starting to get high. We have not seen it reach over the road yet here, but there is some of those pockets of water flowing alongside, as you guys can see right over here. Now, crews that have been out here assisting with the search and rescue operations have been working. They are on standby, and okay, I would not recommend doing what this car is. First responders have set up blockades around some of the affected areas as well, so please stay away from higher rivers like this. We are parked up here and will not plan to go down there, but Those first responder crews that are out and about right now, they are on hold. They have assignments, but none of them are going out because of the rain. They say once the storm lets up, if it does today, that's when they'll start the operations again. But first responders are not out there right now, so you should not be as well. They say if there are any volunteer crews that are out and about as well here, to make sure they get away from the river so there aren't any issues with having too many people out here when they don't need to be. We've been driving around here from Ingram. We're now over here in Kerrville, once again at Town Creek Road and Bluebonnet Road, keeping an eye on some of these conditions over here. The rain has started to ebb and flow. It goes between light rain and heavy rain. We're somewhat in the middle medium section, I would say, right now, depending on what we've seen with some of these downpours. But it has been heavy, and this the water does continue to rise at a pretty substantial level. So we're just going to go ahead and keep an eye on some of these conditions here again, but just going through some key points. Make sure you're staying away from some of these roads. If you see a blockade sign set up by some of the first responders that are out here, do not go past it. They encourage people to stay in their homes, stay high and dry if you can, and to make sure that you are letting first responders take care of their jobs. Once some of this rain and storm lets up, they will continue their efforts. But for the meantime, here in town, we are under alert. We're keeping an eye on this, and we're going to be doing so for the rest of the time here on KSAT. So Sarah, if you would like to ask me anything, if we're going to continue to follow some of these other spots as well, I'll go ahead and I'll send it back to you for now.
Yeah, thank you so much, Devin. And again, I think the key there is this has really put a pause on the recovery efforts, and that's the bad news from this additional rainfall. We can see that the river is rising. The river is under a flood warning right now. I'm going to bring up for you the forecast river levels for the Guadalupe at Hunt. So right where that fork, the north and south fork of the Guadalupe meet. This is a look at the forecast. You might have to squint on your TV, but the river is rising slightly and it's expect to crest at about 13 feet, which is moderate flood stage. Now, it's not good that the Guadalupe is flooding again. It is not good. This is definitely causing issues for first responders and the like. But this is not going to be anywhere near where we had the flood last week. Last week, that flood was crest at a record nearly 37 feet at Hunt. So this forecast crest for this afternoon is sitting more at about 20 feet below that. So we are not going to be looking at a raging river sweeping away houses, sweeping away people. Instead, this is unfortunately just going to really hinder those recovery and cleanup efforts that have been going on for about a week in Kerr County. So we do have that river warning in effect through this afternoon, and we have another flash flood warning for Kerr County in effect through about 11 o'clock. These showers and storms are weakening as they approach Bexar County. Right now it's raining in Bernie, it's raining in Bandera. There's very little lightning with this. There's some lightning up near Medina, but this cluster of storms will be near the New Braunfels area by about 11:15, near 1604 on the north side by 11 o'clock, downtown by about 11:30, Elmendorf by about noon. It'll be near Hondo by about 11:30 as well. This cluster of showers and storms is not going to cause flooding in San Antonio. Again, it's weakening quite a bit. It could cause some ponding on the roadways, but what we're watching very carefully is for redevelopment later on today and potentially even tonight. Some redevelopment of these showers and storms overhead. Later tonight is where there could be a risk for flooding in San Antonio. For the next couple of hours in San Antonio, really just some of your run-of-the-mill showers and storms. But later on tonight, there could be some redevelopment, and that's where we could really run the risk for some flooding. So we'll keep you posted about that. For now, just know that we are watching for the potential for flooding. That's why we're under a flood watch until later on this evening. Pockets of 1 to 3, but a bullseye of up to 8 inches of rain. That has already happened, by the way, up nearer to Killeen. So we'll keep you posted. I'm live right now on the KSAT Weather Authority app, covering these showers and storms as they move in. For now, we'll return you to programming, and please join me live on KSAT.com, the Weather Authority app, and KSAT Plus.